Hey there, focus learners. If you're staring down the barrel of a massive anatomy and physiology exam, well, you're in exactly the right place. Think of this explainer as your ultimate high-yield crash course. We're going to cut right through the fluff, zero in on the most commonly tested concepts, and use some bulletproof strategies to make sure this stuff actually sticks in your brain. All right, let's jump right in. So here's your game plan for acing that final. We're breaking everything down into 5 distinct modules: crushing the cardiovascular system, reviewing the respiratory system, urinary system and body pH, digestive system and immunity, and finally, reproduction and genetics. Grouping by systems like this chunks the information, which makes it vastly easier for your brain to process and, more importantly, retrieve on test day.
Section 1, crushing the cardiovascular system. This one is heavily tested, so you really need to be sharp here.
Let's kick things off with a practice question straight from the source material. Here's your first pop quiz. A heart rate that is less than 60 beats per minute is called what? Is it tachycardia, sinus dysrhythmia, bradycardia, or fibrillation? I'll give you a quick second to lock in your guess. If you went with bradycardia, you absolutely nailed it. Now, what's really cool about this concept is how we can use the rule of contrasts so you literally never forget it. You see, in medical terminology, the root brady means slow and tachy means fast. So instead of just rote memorization, contrast bradycardia, which is less than 60 beats per minute, with tachycardia, which is an abnormally fast heart rate. If you understand the roots, you conquer the vocabulary. Next up, let's map out the path of blood flow. A massive chunk of exam questions will ask you to trace this exact route. Blood leaving the superior vena cava enters the right atrium. From there, it passes through the tricuspid valve and enters the right ventricle. If you can visually map this process out in your mind, you'll be able to instantly answer any question about what chamber blood just left or where it's heading next. And honestly, here's a total lifesaver for test day. People always mix up which valve is on the right and which is on the left. So your crucial takeaway is this mnemonic: try to get it right. The tricuspid valve is on the right side of the heart. Try to get it right. Just lock that down and you can instantly eliminate wrong answers. Section 2, reviewing the respiratory system. Let's keep this upbeat, gamified pacing going. Time for another pop quiz. Normal breathing is referred to as what? Dyspnea, apnea, Cheyne-Stokes, or eupnea? The correct answer is eupnea. And this brilliantly illustrates the power of prefixes once again. The prefix "eu" actually translates to good or normal. Contrast that with dys, which means bad or difficult, giving us dyspnea for difficult breathing. Or the prefix "a," meaning without, giving us apnea for an absence of breathing. Know your prefixes, know the answer. It's like a giant puzzle. Now, examiners absolutely love to test you on the 3 types of respiration because, honestly, they sound so similar. Let's break them down. External respiration is the exchange of oxygen and carbon dioxide in the lungs. Internal respiration is that same exchange out in the body tissues. But the one they really try to catch you on is cellular respiration. That is the actual use of oxygen for cell metabolism. So when you see the phrase cell metabolism, you need to immediately think cellular respiration. Moving right along to Section 3, the urinary system and body pH. I know this is historically a pretty tough, complex topic for a lot of test takers, but don't worry, we're going to break it right down. Okay, this next question is a classic trap. The tube that carries urine out of the kidney is called the urethra, ureter, collecting tube, or bladder. Be really, really careful how you read the wording on this one. The answer is the ureter. The trick here is that examiners will actively try to trip you up between the ureter and the urethra. The ureter connects the kidney to the bladder. The urethra carries urine out of the body. So here's your golden mnemonic. Urethra ends with an A. Think A for away from the body. Simple, right? Now let's tackle pH control. Your body has 2 primary lines of defense to keep your pH perfectly balanced. First, your chemical control mechanisms. These are the buffers right there in your blood, and they act incredibly fast. Your physiological control mechanisms, on the other hand, involve organs, specifically the kidneys. If a test question asks for a chemical control, look for buffers. If it asks for physiological, look for the kidneys. Speaking of pH, let's test your knowledge on acid-base imbalances. Which of the following is caused by a bicarbonate deficit? Respiratory acidosis, respiratory alkalosis, metabolic acidosis, or metabolic alkalosis? The correct answer is metabolic acidosis. So the absolute crucial point here is understanding the root cause. Bicarbonate is a chemical buffer. If you have a deficit of this chemical, it's a metabolic issue. Contrast this with respiratory acidosis, which would be caused by a problem in the lungs regarding carbon dioxide. Just focus on the word bicarbonate and always pair it directly with metabolic.
Section 4. The digestive system and immunity. Let's keep the momentum high. Here's a fairly straightforward one that shows up all the time. Scurvy results from a lack of which vitamin? A, E, C, or K? The answer is vitamin C. But hey, let's take it a step further so you really understand why this matters. Your body actually cannot store vitamin C. Why? Because it's a water-soluble vitamin. You need a constant intake to prevent conditions like scurvy. This is a really great contrast to vitamins A, D, E, and K, which are fat-soluble and can actually be stored away in your body for later use.
Let's briefly look at the immune system, specifically how immunity works. Getting a flu shot to protect against the flu is defined as artificial active immunity. It's artificial because it was introduced via a shot, and it's active because it forces your own body to do the hard work. Once exposed to that antigen, your B lymphocytes actively develop into antibody-producing factories known as plasma cells.
All right, we have entered the final stretch. Section 5, Reproduction and Genetics. Finish strong, you've completely got this.
This next timeline is high-yield gold for the reproductive system. You absolutely must know the 3 stages of labor in order. Stage 1 is the time from the onset of contractions to complete dilation of the cervix. Stage 2 picks up right there, from maximal dilation until the baby actually exits through the vagina. And Stage 3 is purely the expulsion of the placenta. Lock these 3 steps into your memory and you will instantly ace any sequence question on labor.
For our final pop quiz, let's look at genetics. A person with trisomy has how many chromosomes? 47, 46, 45, or 48?
The correct answer is 47, and this brilliantly illustrates our final concept. A normal human genome has 46 chromosomes. Tri means 3. So in trisomy, like Down syndrome, instead of a normal pair, you actually have 3 copies of a specific chromosome. 46 plus that 1 extra gives you 47 total. You know, mapping all 46 of these chromosomes out is incredible when you realize what the science actually says. Of our entire genetic genome, what percent of our DNA actually carries functional genes? It's less than 2%. Literally less than 2% of your genetic code does all the heavy lifting to build every single one of the systems we just reviewed. It really makes you wonder what the other 98% is up to, doesn't it? Good luck on that final and keep studying smart.